So chess has three phases, the opening, which is the first 10 to 15 moves, the middle game, which is the middle of the game, and the end game, which is when there's only a few pieces left on the board. So in chess, for the opening, there's three key concepts that you need to know in order to survive. First is control of the center, second is development, and third is safety of the king. The first one you should focus on is control of the center. Now the center of the board has like different zones. This is the queen side. For example, these areas are the queen side because it's the side where it has the queen, and these are the king side, the side of the king, right? But then there's also the center. The center is the exact center of the board. This is the inner center, these four squares, and this is the outer center. So the reason why control of the center is so important is because if you control the center, you can limit your opponent's movements. Okay. So for example, say I control this much of the center, your opponent can't play these moves because then the soldiers get taken. But basically the point is, if you control a lot of squares, your opponent will have very difficult places to go, movements to do. So now he can even bring out his bishops without forcing that like this. Yeah. All of them just become stuck. So that's why control the center is so important, and it's a focus on a lot of openings. Okay. Second is development. Development is when you improve your pieces to better control more squares, more important, more relevant squares. So for example, this knight over here is not really useful. He only controls this square, and this square, most of which are useless. But if you put this knight over here, he can control two squares in the center, which is good. So basically a perfect development will look something like this, where you bring out all the pieces and they all control the center. So you look like this. This is a finished development, an ideal one. So development and control of the center often go hand in hand. If you develop a knight, it controls the center. Also like empty this. Yeah. There's a lot of different openings that you can experience with. Try to find out which one is to your style. And finally, there's the third concept, which is safety of the king. Pretty straightforward. You just need to get the king safe. So if you leave the king in the center of the board, it is going to be very difficult for you because a lot of troubles can happen in the middle of the board. For example, a lot of pieces control the center, and if your opponent has more control in the center, he can launch an attack on your king if it's stuck in the center, of course.